Hello everyone, welcome to the Stalwart Initiative, and we're back for another look at Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I didn't realize last time when we did the fighter, it was actually a very long video, so with this one having 3 subclasses, might be a little longer, though we don't have all the optional class features that the fighter had. So, for sake of time, let's dive right into it. So first up we get a Druid optional class features, like every class is getting in Tasha's. And Druids is very streamlined, very thin. We get some additional spells. Unfortunately, no cantrips. But we do get some additional spells here. The Sight of Continual Flame. I've never seen anyone use Continual Flame, though I think it would be a useful spell, especially with its. It's kind of weird because it's a 2nd level spell, but if you cast it at 3rd level, it makes a magical fire that doesn't have heat, doesn't need oxygen, and can't be smothered or extinguished. But does that, if you cast it at 3rd level, does that surpass like the darkness spell, which is 2nd level or lower? But because it's a 2nd level spell, does kind of wonky rollings there. I had to look that one up. But a useful spell in very niche situations. Glad to see the Summon Beast, the new 2nd level summoning spell, is here, and I was afraid they were going to add it, and they did. Look, Druid is my favorite overall D&D class, but the fact that they gave them a Revivify at 3rd level, I get it. But now, now I'm gonna feel obligated to be a healer, a reviver, everything as a Druid, although they do give you Summon Fae too, so that's nice. But it's everybody's a healer. Everybody's able to revive. Not really, but the list is growing. So as much as I love the Druid and I love Revivify, it's it's tough out there. Gotta get the clerics to shine in one particular area, but with everybody else getting these healing or resurrection abilities, it's tough. But yeah, there's a decent spell list here. Some of these, like Flesh to Stone, Cone of Cold, stuff like that, should have definitely, I think, were welcome in the initial spell list. So we get these additional spells, additional Druid spell options, and then we have Wild Companion at 2nd level. You gain the ability to summon a spirit that assumes an animal form. As an action, you can expend a use of your Wild Shape feature to cast the Find Familiar spell without material components. When you cast a spell in this way, the familiar is a fae instead of a beast, and the familiar disappears after a number of hours equal to half your Druid level. That's a lot of hours. That can scale very well into late game, and this gives you a universal class-wide alternative to your Wild Shape feature, which Wild Shape is a form of currency, right? Most classes have their forms of currency specifically for them, and this allows you to do Find Familiar using that as an alternative. I like it. I would totally encourage any DM to let their players use it this way. So very cool option. Next up, at 4th level, you have Cantrip Versatility. When you reach a level in this class that grants the Ability Score Improvement feature, you can replace one cantrip you've learned from this class's spell casting feature with another cantrip from the Druid spell list. It's just a gimme at this point. It feels right to give the players the ability to switch out cantrips. Maybe not all the time. That is a subclass specific thing. When you could do it more than usual, but at least every 4 levels, right, is the least we can do for the cantrips, switching them out. So that's it. That's all we have for the optional class features for the Druid. Not a whole lot going on there, but let's take a look at the 3 subclasses. First up, we have the Circle of Spores, which is a reprint from Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. Great setting book, and this was one of the few subclasses in that book. Druids of the Circle of Spores find beauty in decay. They see within mold and other fungi the ability to transform lifeless material into abundant, albeit somewhat strange, life. These Druids believe that life and death are part of a grand cycle, with one leading to the other and then back again. Death isn't the end of life, but instead a change of state that sees life shift into a new form. Druids of the Circle have a complex relationship with the undead. Unlike most other druids, they see nothing inherently wrong with undeath which they consider to be a companion to life and death. But these druids believe that the natural circle is healthiest when each segment of it is vibrant and changing. Undead that seek to replace all life with undeath, or that try to avoid passing to the final rest, violate the cycle and must be thwarted. That's a very cool and unique viewpoint so far from what we've been given as druids. And yeah, I do like this thematically. And let's take a look here. First up, I almost missed this. If I wouldn't have remembered this from Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, I almost missed this. It shows you your spore circle spells here that you get, and it says it starts at 3rd level. But I thought I remembered you getting an additional cantrip with this subclass, and it turns out, yep, it's hidden up here. You get the Chill Touch cantrip when you get the subclass at level 2. And then beyond that is the little chart we have down here with all the additional spells you gain in your subclass, your druid spell list. So obviously Animate Dead makes sense at 5th level. Gaseous Form, Blindness, Deafness, not quite sure about how that fits, but yeah, this is a pretty decent and thematic spell list here. And also at 2nd level, when you get the subclass, you get the Halo of Spores feature. Starting at 2nd level, you are surrounded by invisible necrotic spores that are harmless unless you unleash them on a creature nearby. When a creature you can see moves into a space within 10 feet of you, or starts its turn there, you can use a reaction to deal 1d4 necrotic damage to that creature unless it succeeds on a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC. The necrotic damage increases to 1d6 at 6th level, 1d8 at 10th level, and 1d10 at 14th level. This is very nice, giving you a way to use a reaction to get some damage out there, though it does require you to be semi-close to the opposition. And we're going to see this kind of theme here throughout the subclass. I just hope that the defensive measures they give you with the next feature are enough to offset the fact that you're going to be close to combatants, putting yourself up in harm's way. D4 isn't a lot of damage, but it is only using a reaction, and it's not considered poison. I'm glad they switched away from the whole poison thing, because a lot of things are resistant to poison, have advantage on saving throws against poison. I'm glad they went the necrotic route because it makes it a little more viable. Granted, there are things that are resistant to or immune to necrotic damage as well. I just don't think it's as prevalent in 5e as the poison. So also at 2nd level, we get the Symbiotic Entity. So this is our 3rd 2nd level feature. We're nice and front loaded here. That's good for a lot of situations. At 2nd level, you gain the ability to channel magic into your spores. As an action, you can expend a use of your Wild Shape feature to awaken those spores. Rather than transforming into a beast, you gain 4 temporary hit points for each level you have in this class. While this feature is active, you gain the following benefits. So 4 temp hit points doesn't seem like a lot. Although when you get this class feature, that's you're at level 2 already, so you have 8 temporary hit points, and that scales pretty well to 80 temporary hit points at level 20. 80 temp hit points. That's very nice. That's a nice compensation for the fact that if you're a beast or a CR1 or higher beast, you're getting those nice amount of extra hit points in that health pool that you wild shaped into. So next up we have when you in the same feature it says in addition to the temp hit points, when you deal your Hail of Spores damage, roll the damage die a 2nd time and add it to the total. While your melee weapon attacks also deal an additional 1d6 poison damage to any target they hit. And these benefits last for 10 minutes until you lose all these temporary hit points or until you use your wild shape again. Okay, so we have a nice boost in temp hit points that will scale very well according to our level in this druid. And also, you are during this period, you're doubling the Halo of Spores damage. This is when Halo of Spores really shines because you are doubling this damage. So at 2nd level, you're still at your D4, so 2d4 damage, and as a reaction, mind you. So that's very nice, very nice. And your melee weapon attacks deal an additional 1d6 poison damage. The poison damage, is like I mentioned earlier. Poison is not the best thing to really deal out, but hey, it's additional damage to your attacks. So, and this is not one attack on per your round, and it's not one attack per turn. This is all attacks. So that's good as well. I like that little caveat there. Next up, at 6th level, we have Fungal Infestation. At 6th level, your spores gain the ability to infest a corpse and animate it. If a beast or humanoid that is small or medium dies within 10 feet of you, you can use your reaction to animate it, causing it to stand up immediately with 1 hit point. The creature uses the zombie stat block in the monster manual, and it remains animate for 1 hour, after which time it collapses and dies. In combat, the zombie's turn comes immediately after yours. It obeys your mental commands, and the only action it can take is the attack action, making 1 melee attack. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, minimum of 1, and you regain all expended uses of it when you finish a long rest. This is more fun than anything, but because you're giving them zombie stat blocks. This is... it's not going to be anything impressive, especially you're starting this at 6th level. As you scale up, this is going to be less and less relevant, but it does bring them back up with 1 hit point. So, yay. That's good to have. And just thematically having it happen can have some really good implications in combat. So very cool and very thematic, though the combat effectiveness of this isn't going to be that great. But they do give you a wisdom modifier per long rest, so you can use this multiple times, typically up to 5 times per long rest. Next up, at 10th level, we have Spreading Spores. At 10th level, you gain the ability to seed an area with deadly spores. As a bonus action, while your symbiotic entity feature is active, you can hurl spores up to 30 feet away, where they swirl in a 10-foot cube for a minute. The spores disappear early if you use this feature again, if you dismiss them with a bonus action, or if your symbiotic entity feature is no longer active. It's going to be tough, because if you are a mid-range caster at this point, because a lot of these things require you, with this excluded because it has a 30-foot range, require you to be around 10 feet away from opponents. They're going to be pounding on those temp hit points. Once those temp hit points disappear, a lot of your great features, including Spreading Spores, disappear as well. So keep that in mind. Whenever a creature moves into the cube that we create with the Spreading Spores, or starts its turn there, the creature takes your Halo of Spores damage unless the creature succeeds on a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC. A creature can take this damage no more than once per turn. While the cube of spores persists, you can't use your Halo of Spores reaction. So this is basically taking your Halo of Spores and using it as a small AoE attack that you can use up to 30 feet and as a bonus action. And it doesn't count as a spell either, so you can still be casting spells as an action. I like this. It's a little up until really high levels. It's a little sensitive, because you can knock someone out of that symbiotic entity, and this option will completely disappear. But it does give you an AoE, basically an AoE attack or an AoE mini spell that uses your Halo of Spores damage. So, okay, I like it, and it could prove fun to manage in combat, I think. So for our capstone, we have Fungal Body. At 14th level, the fungal spores in your body alter you. You can't be blinded, deafened, frightened, or poisoned, and any critical hit against you counts as a normal hit instead, unless you're incapacitated. The fact that you can't be critted, the fact you can't be critted is very nice. And then all these other immunities, blinded, deafened, frightened, that's a pretty nice rounded defensive measure for a subclass that really wants you to be a mid-range caster. And I just don't know if they give you, the temp hit points are great, but I don't know if they give you enough defensive oomph to really hang in as a mid-range caster. I would have liked to have seen maybe at the beginning as a 2nd level feature, giving you something, a way to use medium armor that has metal in it, so maybe your spores dissolve the metal and become as strong as the metal and allow you to wear those heavier medium armors that you normally can't wear as a druid. I would like to have seen something like that to make you a little more hardy in combat, because, or as a mid-range caster, because once those temp hit points are gone, you're very vulnerable. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Next subclass. But now, Circle of Stars. I really thought this was going to be in the, what was that? What was the setting? The Greek setting that they did, the Magic the Gathering setting. Not to Theros, there we go. I really thought this was going to be in the Theros book. Didn't make it. That's okay, because I really like it here. The Circle of Stars allows druids to draw on the power of starlight. These druids have tracked heavenly patterns since time immemorial, discovering secrets hidden amid the constellations. By revealing and understanding these secrets, the Circle of Stars seeks to harness the powers of the cosmos. Many druids in this circle, or of the circle, keep records of the constellations and the stars' effects on the world. Some groups document these observations at megalithic sites, which serve as enigmatic libraries of lore. These repositories might take the form of stone circles, pyramids, petroglyphs, and underground temples. Any construction durable enough to protect the circle's sacred knowledge even against the Great Cataclysm. So, very cool. Another nice, very unique theme from where we've come from. At the second level, your first feature is your star map. You've created a star chart as part of your heavenly studies. It is a tiny object and can serve as a spellcasting focus for your druid spells. You determine its form by rolling on the star map table, or on the star map table, or by choosing one. While holding this map, you have these benefits. You know the guidance cantrip, great, and you have the guiding bolt spell prepared. Counts as a druid spell for you, and it doesn't count against the number of spells you can have prepared. That is very good. Nice level 1 and scalable, useful offensive option for the druid. I like it. You can cast Guiding Bolt without expending a spell slot. You can do so a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. If I remember correctly, there was a second spell in here. In the initial playtest of this subclass. I think it was like augury or something. It was some kind of lower prophetic spell. It looks like they dropped that, and it's just Guiding Bolt. But wow, a number of times equal your proficiency bonus. Oh, I thought it was going to scale with wisdom modifier. Okay, so this will start out pretty slow. This is a slow scaling, so it starts out at 2 times for free, though. For free, mind you, during your long rest. So if you lose the map, you can perform a 1-hour ceremony to magically create a replacement. This ceremony can be performed during a short or long rest, and it destroys the previous map. And here is a list of star maps for you that you can choose from or roll randomly, however you want to do that for your star map. Also at second level, you get your starry form. As a bonus action, you can expend a use of your wild shape feature to take on a starry form, rather than transforming into a beast. While in your starry form, you retain your game statistics, but your body becomes luminous and your joints glimmer like stars, and glowing lines connect them as on a star chart. This form sheds bright light in a 10-foot radius and dim light in an additional 10 feet. The form lasts for 10 minutes. It ends early if you dismiss it, no action required, are incapacitated, die, or use the feature again. Whenever you assume your starry form, choose which of the following constellations glimmers on your body. Your choice gives you certain benefits while in the form. It's great that this is a bonus action instead of an action, right? For your wild shape. It only lasts 10 minutes. That's okay. That's okay. Depending on your benefits, it's fine. We'll shorten it there. But I wish it would say you can shed. I know it's more thematic if you automatically shed the light, but it would be nice if you could not shed it, and you could just look like the galactic with the star chart on you, on your body, and not have to shed the light for stealth purposes. But hey, you got a mini torch going there. Good for ya. Okay, so let's check out the forms that you can choose from, these constellations you can choose from while in this form. First up is Archer. A constellation of an archer appears on you. When you activate this form as a bonus action on your subsequent turns while it lasts, you can make a ranged spell attack, hurling a luminous arrow that targets one creature within 60 feet of you. On a hit, the attack deals radiant damage equal to 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier. So that's a longbow worth of damage, and you get to add your wisdom instead of a dexterity roll. A constellation, let me see here. When you activate this form, and okay, good. I thought it was when you activate the form, I didn't read over, I didn't comprehend that this time. I'm glad it's when you activate the form and as a bonus action. Okay, because that would be a feels bad if you do this and then it doesn't work till the next turn. So cool. Pretty much every round you can have a 60-foot longbow attack worth of radiant damage as a bonus action for free. That's cool. If you're aiming at DPS, or if you want to just go as like a healer or utility spell user for your action and then have this to still help dish out the damage as a bonus action, this is a decent option. Especially at lower levels, this will scale out then, but that's okay. We get more features later. The second option is Chalice. A constellation of a life-giving goblet appears on you. When you cast a spell using a spell slot that restores hit points to a creature, you or another creature within 30 feet of you can regain hit points equal to 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier. Yeah, this is great. So your archer helps you with damage output. This will make you a better healer. And if that's what you're aiming for to begin with, this is great because it allows you to heal multiple targets. So if you're using Cure Wounds, this essentially gives you a Cure Wounds for free up to 30 feet. It can be to yourself or someone else up to 30 feet. It's the same stats as a Cure Wounds, 1d8 plus your wisdom mod. And yeah, so you're doing multiple targets even on single target healing spells. Or if you're doing multiple target healing spells, you can at least give somebody free Cure Wounds while you do it. This is great, especially for things like Healing Word, where you can use a bonus action and get this additional effect on top of that, and then use your action to use an offensive cantrip, like Thorn Whip or something. The last form we have is the Dragon form. A constellation of a wise dragon appears on you. When you make an intelligence or wisdom check or a constitution saving throw to maintain concentration on a spell, you can treat a roll of 9 or lower on the d20 as a 10. This is nice. It becomes more useful later on, but so it's going to give you, it's going to make sure you don't do horrible in checks like investigation, history, arcana, insight, and what's another one? Medicine, stuff like that. It's nice for them, especially if you have proficiency in them, and especially with the wisdom checks, which you more than likely have a high wisdom score to add the modifier there. Unless you have a con modifier, yeah, that's not going to make your con check that great. But the fact that it makes your Constitution saving throw for concentration a 10 is in most cases a pass until you get to higher levels and things hit you for a lot more damage in one shot. But as concentration, typically a 10 will do it. So that is very helpful, very helpful. It's just, man, it's hard to choose if you're in battle. Obviously, this is more for things out of battle, but the concentration on a check is most useful in battle, and that's a tough one to use when you have the other two wonderful options. But if you really need to keep that concentration up, it will become more useful later, as I mentioned. So let's move on. And at 6th level, you get Cosmic Omen. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can consult your star map for omens. When you do so, roll a die. Until you finish your next long rest, you gain access to a special reaction based on whether you rolled an even or an odd number on the die. So if you rolled an even number, it is Wheel. Whenever a creature you can see within 30 feet of you is about to make an attack roll, saving throw, or an ability check, you can use reaction to roll a d6 and add the number rolled to the total. And woe is the opposite of that. Whenever a creature within 30 feet of you makes an attack roll, saving throw, or ability check, you can use reaction to subtract it. So this will be rolled randomly, which you can do with this feature. And you can use this reaction a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. This is much like the Artificer's Flash of Genius, Flash of Brilliance. I think it's Flash of Genius, 7th level feature. And where they just get to add, they get like the wheel version of this, and it's a flat number equal to their intelligence modifier. This one is a little bit different. So it has a little higher ceiling with the D6, but you can do it, but you can roll lower, which is unfortunate. But you can also have the option of doing it against enemies. So it is a little bit boosted version, single target version of Bless and Bane. Okay, that's a nice 6th level feature. It's actually a very cool feature. It's just it can feel bad sometimes when you roll that one and you only have proficiency bonus. A number of times you clear proficiency bonus. So at 6th level, when you get this, you can do this 3 times per long rest. We'll scale a little better, but I would like to have seen the wisdom modifier because that scales heavily towards earlier game. That's just personal preference. At 10th level, you get Twinkling Constellations. The constellations of your starry form improve. The 1d8 of the Archer and Chalice becomes 2d8. Oh, this is when this really starts to step it up. And while the Dragon is active, you have a flying speed of 20 feet and can hover. Moreover, at the start of each of your turns, while in starry form, you can change which constellation glimmers on your body. This is, I would say, in this subclass, 10th level is really where it really takes off. Boosting everything up, your healing and your damage output to 2d8, and also giving you the option of a fly speed of 20 feet in addition to the dragon stuff, is great. It's fantastic, but not only that, it allows you to switch these constellations each turn, on each of your turns. That is what really allows you to adapt to the situations, and I think where the power really comes from. So our capstone here at 14th level is full of stars. While in your starry form, you become partially incorporeal, giving you resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Nothing flashy here, but this is all bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. It doesn't say just from weapons, doesn't say non-magical, so even magical and otherwise, yeah, that's good. That gives you a defensive front, though by the looks of this subclass, in contrast to the spores, you don't want to be up in melee anyway. This is a backline caster right here. So yeah, let me know what you think about the Circle of Stars. I like it. I like the theme, the features. Not, in my opinion, not very powerful, but very useful and utility oriented. So we're at Circle of the Wildfire, and this one seems to be everybody's favorite out of the new 3, and possibly favorite out of all the druids for a lot of people. I mean, look at that artwork. That is fantastic, and this is just all around great. And I agree with most people, as this is a wonderful offering for a subclass here. So druids within the Circle of Wildfire understand that destruction is sometimes the precursor of creation, such as when a forest fire promotes later growth. These druids bond with a primal spirit that harbors both destructive and creative power, allowing the druids to create controlled flames that burn away one thing but give life to another. Very nice way of saying, yeah, we burn shit, but hey, we bring life. Cool. With the circle spells, you would get with the Circle of Wildfire at 2nd level: Burning Hands, Cure Wounds, Flaming Sphere, Scorching Ray, Plant Growth, Revivify, or of Life, Fire, Shield, Flame. This is just a fantastic offensive and healing and resurrecting with the Revivify. This is a fantastic list. Just great. Just great automatically. And we don't get any cantrips with this. You'd think we'd get like Firebolt or something, like a fire-oriented cantrip, but we don't. Oh, sad face. So also at 2nd level, you get Summon Your Wildfire Spirit. This is the main feature here. You can summon the primal spirit bound to your soul. As an action, you can expend one of your wild shape feature, or one use of your wild shape feature to summon your wildfire spirit, rather than assuming a beast form. The spirit appears in an unoccupied space of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you. Each creature within 10 feet of the spirit, other than you, when it appears, must succeed on a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC, or take 2d6 fire damage. This can hurt your allies. I've seen it. It can hurt your allies. Multiple ones. But it can also be very useful because that's decent damage. It is save or suck, so they're not going to take half damage if they manage to dodge out of the way. But it's nice. You can poof summon this right in a group of baddies and hopefully get at least one of them with the fire damage. The spirit is friendly to you and your companions and obeys your commands. See this creature's game statistics in the Wildfire Spirit stat block, which uses your proficiency bonus in several places. You determine the spirit's appearance. We'll take a look at that stat block here in a minute, hopefully, if it brings us to there. Some spirits take the form of a humanoid figure made of gnarled branches covered in flame, while others look like beasts wreathed in fire. In combat, the spirit shares your initiative count, but it takes its turn immediately after yours. The only action it takes on its turn is the dodge action, unless you take a bonus action on your turn to command it to take another action. That action can be one in its stat block or some other action. If you're incapacitated, the spirit can take any action of its choice, not just dodge. The spirit manifests for 1 hour until it is reduced to 0 hit points, until you use this feature to summon the spirit again, or until you die. Yeah, so basically a better version of whatchamacallit. Oh, no, that's just statistics. Of the Beastmaster. Okay, Wildfire Spirit. Let's see if its stat block is here. Ah, finally, yes. Okay, so this does scale a lot with your proficiency bonus. It's 5 times your Druid level hit points, so that scales pretty nicely. That is at second level, that's 10 hit points, and that's going to scale up to 100. Very cool that the armor class is low. Yeah, but it's got a fly speed. The flame seed attack isn't a whole lot of damage. That is a short bow worth of damage, of fire damage plus your proficiency bonus. But the fiery teleportation, that's where it can really get some uses. You can have this Wildfire Spirit help your allies get out of trouble. You can just have it bounce all around the battlefield. I like it, and it still does damage when doing so. Yeah, very cool. I like it. So far, so good. And next up at 6th level, we have Enhanced Bond. The bond with your Wildfire Spirit enhances your destructive and restorative spells. Whenever you cast a spell that deals fire damage or restores hit points while your Wildfire Spirit is summoned, roll a d6 or roll a d8. And you gain a bonus equal to the number rolled to 1 damage or healing roll of that spell. In addition, when you cast a spell with a range other than self, the spell can originate from you or your Wildfire Spirit. This is good. It's also boosting your healing or damage. Spell not quite as it's not going to be like capping quite as much as the Circle of Stars, but it does help nonetheless, and you can add it to damage. So, very nice. And casting spells from your Wildfire Spirit is very cool as well. It is a little bit lesser, so this is like the middle ground, right? It's giving you multiple features that some other subclasses can give you, but it's giving you a lesser version, but it's giving you a wider variety. Whereas the Archivist Wizard, Scribe Wizard lets you cast spells from their new jazz. This is going to let you do so that you don't get to do the senses and things from your spell book, your animated spell book. Like you can't do that with your Wildfire Spirit, but you can still cast spells from it. So as long as you can see the target and all the restrictions apply, you can cast it from there. So very cool. At 10th level, we have Cauterizing Flames. You gain the ability to turn death into magical flames that can heal or incinerate. When a small or larger creature dies within 30 feet of you or your Wildfire Spirit, a harmless spectral flame springs forth from the dead creature's space and flickers there for 1 minute. When a creature you can see enters that space, you can use your reaction to extinguish the spectral flame there and either heal the creature or deal fire damage to it. The healing or damage equals 2d10 plus your wisdom modifier. You can use this reaction a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. I like this, other than it's a decent amount of damage, it's a decent amount of healing, you're only using your reaction. Proficiency bonus at this point is 4. Yes, your proficiency bonus is 4 at this point. So 4 times per long rest. That's a nice amount. I like this. The only thing I don't like about it is when a creature you can see enters that space. So this is gamey speak to me, right? That makes me envision a map when something enters that space. So you're saying whenever someone walks over the dead body, which in normal combat, if you can, if you can swerve around a dead body and not have to jump over it, not have to walk around it, especially if the creature's larger, right? If it's a large creature, if it's a huge creature on its back, you don't want to occupy that space. You don't want to walk over that dead body. I would say within 5 feet of it, right? Saying enters that space means you walk over that dead body that has the flame in it. It just doesn't make much sense to me. But I do like the feature, and I think it's pretty well balanced, and I like it. Yay, cauterizing flames, except for that one little detail. So the capstone here for this is Blazing Revival. The bond with your wildfire spirit can save you from death. If the spirit is within 120 feet of you when you're reduced to 0 hit points and thereby fall unconscious, you can cause the spirit to drop to 0 hit points. You then regain half your hit points and immediately rise to your feet. Once you use this feature again, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. This is really cool. So it's like a death ward, but better. You gain half of it. It's almost like Phoenix kind of thing, that you're not dealing damage, AoE damage around you when you come up or anything like that. But I would have liked to have seen that this not be one time per long rest, because you are killing your wildfire spirit. I mean, rip. Right? It reduces itself to 0. It gives itself to bring you back up to half hit points. I know in later levels that's a big ask to do multiple times per long rest, but this is the capstone, and you're forfeiting your main feature. So, and you can only do it twice. Though I do see them making this a long rest feature. I probably would have went the distance and gave it, you just use your wildfire spirit. Giving it up for this. Granted, that can recharge on a short rest, so I can see why they did that. I just would have liked to have seen it use that currency. But let me know what you think. I'm enjoying these offerings for the Druid. Like I said, Druid is my favorite overall D&D class, and amongst other additions as well. But the Moon Druid has really been all I've played, other than a one-shot here and there. So as a campaign-wise, I would definitely pick the Spore Druid. I like the thematics, but I wouldn't do a campaign as one. So I would do one-shot as one. But the Wildfire and the Stars, I would definitely do campaigns as those. Pretty cool options. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments, and I'll put timestamps in the description in case you want to go back and look through any of this. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to try to hammer out the rest of these subclasses. And until next time, unity is strength. So take care of each other, stay safe, and we'll see you again real soon. Later.